Hey everyone, so I'm still back at home in Toronto in my parents' house, back in my parents' office. And yeah, no, I'm having a great time being back. I've been hanging out with old friends, getting coffee, going out for drinks, just having a great time. Went up to the cottage last weekend with my parents. I got some good Canadian country air. I feel like I could use a shave, but I'm on vacation and I'm on holiday. Why do I need to do that? It's not like, I'm not Tom Hanks in Castaway. I could shave. I'm just being lazy. It's just a testament to my laziness, which is an all-powerful force. One of the things I'm really enjoying about being back is perusing my old bookshelves and seeing all the books that I read back when I was in university, back when I was a kid. It makes me imagine what my ultimate bookshelf will be like when I'm older and settled down. I could have all of my books together in this ultimate bookshelf. It will have all my books from when I was in college, but it'll also have all my books from when I was 12, all of my manga. I'm Looking at You, volume 1 to 12 of Death Note, volume 1 to 25 of GTO, Great Teacher Onizuka. And yes, my parents made me pack that up and put it in the basement, but it's there. And when I finally get this giant bookshelf, it's gonna be there. It's a daydream, and it's a recurring one, by the way. It gets even more intense because I start imagining, and it's an endless wall too, right? Like, it's just the wall goes on forever and the bookshelf goes on forever. And I'll have all of my video games too, my Sega Dreamcast games, all of my Final Fantasies finally together in a row of glittering jewel cases. It'll be glorious! Or so I thought. Being back and looking at the shelf, I'm starting to think otherwise, that maybe that whole endeavor or ethos of this giant archival library of all the books I ever read in my life isn't exactly what I want, isn't exactly what I dreamed of. So sitting amongst my old paperback classics from uni and whatnot, I think of this quotation or story who I'd like to quote, but I can't remember who the author was or if I'm just making it up in my head. I think it might be George Orwell, but if any of you viewers recognize what I'm talking about, please feel free to tell me who it is. But I don't know who it was. But basically, in this quotation, the author was thinking through, looking at a photograph of a child, and as an adult, looking at that child and realizing that you don't know what this child feels or thinks or daydreams about. This child is just so alien and foreign to you as an adult, except for the fact that this child is you when you were 12 years old. I think this quotation, which may or may not exist or be a figment of my imagination, is trying to get at the fact that you can never return to your past self. You can't be 13 again. You can't be 16 again, and so on and so on. You can't go back into the past, which I think holds a lot of truth. But that's what makes revisiting your old bookshelves so interesting and fascinating and exciting. It's like time traveling to your former self and seeing what they read and thought about. And it's really cool. And sitting in my old room, which isn't here, it's just down the hall, sitting in my old room, I see that my bookshelves are so much more sophisticated and highbrow and, are clearly the bookshelves of an English lit / liberal arts student. I have books, I would never buy now. I have books like Judith Butler's Gender Trouble, or Culture and Imperialism by Edward Said, or The Irresponsible Self by James Wood. I also have a ton of Philip Roth books. I have this Philip Roth book. I have this Philip Roth book. I have this Philip Roth book. I have all of these Philip Roth books. I even have this one Philip Roth book, his last book, and look, it's signed. Whoa. I also have all sorts of campus novels, some of my favorite campus novels, Franny and Zooey, or Zoe, or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, great stuff. Donna Tartt's The Secret History. I don't think this is a first edition, but it looks very much like the first printing of it, which has the clear sort of library book cover. There's a word for this material which I'm forgetting, but it's there. Look, you can see through me. What? The secret history. That's just Jacob's face. What? So I love returning to these books because they remind me of who I was, even if they were just 3 years ago, but they remind me of who I was back then and who I am now. And I'm happy to be reminded of this stuff, even if I'm not going to rush out and buy Judith Butler or even another Philip Roth. I love to be reminded because I know that my bookshelf back in London is much more goofier, more full of genre stuff that I love and adore. But it's nice to be reminded of all sort of the serious stuff I used to read and be reminded of that sort of serious, hyper-pretentious university self, you know? I can look back fondly on that jerk now, you know? He's okay in my book. Another cool thing I found back in my old room were some of these really cool Canadian graphic novels that were very important to me in my final year of university. There's Seth's It's a Good Life If You Don't Weaken, which is this amazing comic book, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it. What's really cool about Seth is that him and this other cartoonist, Chester Brown, whose book I have here, paying for it, as well as Louis Riel, they form kind of this weird gang slash coterie, and they always get featured in each other's books because they're very autobiographical, except for Louis Riel, which is about Louis Riel, so they don't make an appearance in that. But to me, it was really cool because it was almost like the Canadian lost generation, this really cool group of people who was being featured in each other's art and drawing Toronto and really showing that, you know, Toronto could be this really cool city and like center for artistic creation, both not just as a real place, but as a setting within fiction. I went even further with the time travel effect because I was able even to go into a younger room that I had. Quick explanation. When I was living back here, I sort of changed rooms more than once. So I kind of have sort of two remnants of childhood rooms, which I know sounds so spoiled. I feel like Dudley Dursley. He had two rooms, while poor Harry had to sleep under the stairs. Anyway, I could even go further back and view the bookshelves of an even younger self than my university self, and I just wanted to share some of it with you. I found The Adventures of Captain Underpants, very funny stuff. Maybe even when I was a bit younger, I found old Arthur picture books, which are great. They are called an Arthur adventure. That's what each one says, which seems a bit hyperbolic to me because if you've read Arthur or even seen the TV show, you wouldn't call them adventures. They're like coming-of-age stories. I don't know, but they're lovely. I love them. They're great. And the illustrations are really lush, too. Like, look at all that color. Oh, my gosh. And they're outside in a tent having a sleepover. So much fun. Then I have this old Calvin and Hobbes comic I found. Attack of the Killer Monster. No, sorry, I'm reading that wrong. What? Attack of the Deranged Monster Killer Snow Goons. What? Look at that. So cool. Comics galore. My absolute favorite book I found, old picture book, is this. The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. This book is hilarious. Just rereading it. I love it so much. Here's on the back, there's this chicken, and she's like complaining about the ISBN, and she's like, what is this doing here? This is ugly. Who is this ISBN guy? Who will buy this book anyway? Over 50 pages of nonsense, and I'm only in 3 of them. Blah, 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 blah. That's hilarious. Then on the inside, there's like this weird gnome elf guy who's like, new, improved, funny, good, buy now. Which is just silly. So I don't know, I haven't seen this around in any bookshelves, but I would highly recommend this as a kid's book and an awesome one to return to. It's really, really funny. It sort of has that Pixar effect where the children's story is just as entertaining for adults as it is for kids. So yeah, really cool stuff. And then I even found an old friend of mine, my old stuffed animal, Beaver. Yes, I was a very literal-minded kid, so I just named him Beaver. And I thought, is there a more Canadian stuffed animal than a beaver? Maybe a moose, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, here he is. Anyway, I also found this really cool VHS of My Neighbor Totoro. Come on, kids, look at the technology of the ancients. Whoa, whoa. Ooh, how does this work? So yeah, that's a little blast through the past of books that I read through the ages, and it's great looking at them. It's almost like uh, you read them and then you get teleported or a shock full of memories of when you originally read them, which is kind of amazing when you think about it, because these fiction books are supposed to be transporting you to other worlds of other people's imagination. And not only do they do that, but then they also send you to past memories of yourself, which, in my opinion, just further proves that fiction is the best type of book there is in the world. Go fiction! Anyways, if you have a cool bookshelf experience or a book from the past that really reminds you or resonates with you, please, please, please comment below. I'd love to hear your stories. And until next time, where I'll be in London. So, cheerio!